Are you listening? Damn.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Peak Podcast, a source of information, tools, tips, skills, lessons, stories, and mindset to help you reach your peak and beyond in fitness, relationships, your career, and so much more. Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast, episode 59 of the Peak Podcast. We are racing towards 100, racing at one a week, racing like a tortoise. Today's podcast is titled, Simple is an Art Form. Today I want to talk about keeping it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Is that it? Keep it simple, stupid? Keep it simple something? KISS, right? Keep it simple. And I'm going to start with talking about some IT stuff. I'm going to start with talking about coding. If you code, you may be excited by this. If you don't, you're going to be thinking, what is he talking about? I don't want to learn about lines of code for software. Okay, so coding it's just basically, it is the software. Okay, it is what is behind the software. It is the lines of information behind the software that you don't see, obviously. You don't want to see because it's boring as all hell. It's just words and numbers, basically telling the software what to do. Now, if you're doing a complicated bit of software, you can imagine that there's going to be lots of lines of code, okay? There's going to be lines and lines of code that goes into creating this technical software, right? If we talk about the top software like video editing or anything like that, like the amount of code required in the background to get all that done would be crazy. And so you would imagine that for that coding, you would want the leanest amount, the simplest amount of code that you could get. The reason for that is when you have to go through and do test the code, okay? You have to go through and debug the code, right? Basically debugging is going through and correcting the bugs that you find, okay, as you're testing the software. Well, if you find a problem, but you can't find whereabouts that problem in the coding is, you're in for a real problem, okay? So you got to sift through lines and lines of code. You can't really find where the problem is because the code is so complicated. So what you want is for it to be as simple as possible, right? The simplest. You want it to be as lean, the least amount of coding that you can get. You don't want anything extra there, because if something goes wrong, finding where it has gone wrong is a real problem. This can be thought of the same with machinery, okay? So you want a machine that's going to do X, Y, Z. You're going to have to maintain the machine so it's running a long time. If it is more complicated than it needs to be, when it goes down for maintenance, it's going to be more of a shit fight to find how to fix it, especially at the start. Right? It's going to be a real shit fight to find how to fix it because the machine is so complicated. What you want is the machine to be as simple as possible. Okay? Simple as possible is cheap for the machine. It's also going to be cheap for maintenance later on. This is the same principle that we need to take with our training and our nutrition, okay? It needs to be as simple as possible, okay? The reason, especially for someone who's starting out, okay, simple you don't want to confuse. You don't want to overwhelm. Okay. So if you're starting out, you want to keep it simple. Simple movements, right? Big, the classic big three: bench press, squat, deadlift, push, pull, right? Your pushes, your pulls, your hip hinges, your squats, your carries, right? Keeping it super simple because you are going to get results, right? You're going to get results because you're just focusing on a few things. You're going to get results because if you haven't done anything, then something is going to make a change, right? That's when your changes happen, right at the start. So, keeping it simple is awesome for clarity, it's awesome for focus, it's awesome so you're not overwhelmed. Same with your nutrition. I understand that it's important to eat a variety of colours, but the amount of colours and the amount of food that you need to get to do that is quite a bit. Keep it simple, all right? Keep it, and this is how simple you can do it. Instead of just trying to change your entire diet, keeping it simple can be as simple as changing your breakfast. All right, so for breakfast, I'm just going from a cereal to a piece of fruit. All right, you're just focusing on your breakfast for 2 weeks, a month. You're not so worried about the other stuff, but you're just focusing on breakfast. And then as you get good with that, you focus on lunch. Very simple, okay? What you're doing, you might just remove a lot of the foods and stay to a base amount of food, right? Really simple, a few vegetables, a few meats, okay? A few fats from nuts, oils, avocados, simple things. And then, as you get proficient at that, then you add complexity, right? You can always add complexity. Super simple. Adding something is super simple. In training, you can just add a burpee, right? Super simple. You just add an exercise. Not even a problem. And a lot of the times what I think a lot of coaches and facilities and all that do is try to hit with so much variety to keep people excited, which is brilliant, right? I get it. Keep people excited. People need that variety. But then you forego principles. You're only just briefly touching the principles, the foundations. And if you're only building on the foundations very now and then, the foundations aren't going to get very strong, right? So we're getting people to do lots of stuff, but we're not actually achieving that much. It's the classic, we're just focusing on weight loss, okay? Just focusing on fitness. Weight loss and fitness tend to come just by moving more, by the way. Yeah, they'll just, if you haven't done anything and you just start training and you're consistent with it, you'll lose weight as long as you're eating the same diet or eat a little less, right? You'll just start to get your results. You'll just start to get fitter, okay? So it is as simple as that. But it's important to focus on the foundations of your training, right? They are the simple. That is what is classed the simple. It's like the go-to. Same with your nutrition, right? Find what works, like the minimum amount that works. And what I mean is the minimum amount of variety of foods that works, right? What works for you in terms of your lifestyle. And then you can add to it, right? Because adding complexity is always an option. Adding more to something, it's always an option, it's always there. But if it is so complicated that you don't know what you're doing or you stop getting results and then you don't know what to change because you've got so much going on, then it's hard to change, right? Whereas if you keep simple and then add bit by bit, you'll be able to measure what works. What gets measured what gets measured gets managed, okay? So if you've got these base exercises, this base diet that you stick to, and then you add something to that, then you can say, well, how did that make me feel? What kind of results do I get? Then you can add complexity. Always easier to add complexity, okay? So in training, in nutrition, start the simplest, simple changes, right? Keep it simple, and then as you go on, as you understand what works for you, then you can add complexity, right? Simple is an absolute art form. Most people will complicate most things in life, me included. But when it comes to training, I do keep it pretty simple, especially for clients. When it comes to nutrition, I do keep it pretty simple, especially for clients, all right? So remember, keep it simple. If you enjoyed this episode 59, rate it on Apple Podcasts. Give me a 5-star review, please, if you enjoyed this. If not, tell me how I can improve. I would love to hear feedback either way. That's it, episode 59 in the can again. Peace out. Be good.